Welcome to Blaise the Trail podcast, bringing you authentic and vulnerable stories that will inspire you to breathe fire on this world and become your own hero. Here's your host, Blaise Hunter.
Hello, welcome to Blaise the Trail podcast. I'm Blaise Hunter, and I am a fertility expert. No, I don't help people get pregnant. This is a different type of expertise. I actually inspire people to birth confidence and self-worth, to birth their books and business ideas, dreams, passions, and goals, as well as help them discover peace amongst infertility. After going through my own sets of traumas and tragedies, dealing with a rare disease, and experiencing 3 miscarriages, I decided to take charge of my life and not let life happen to me, but rather become the hero of my own life. I am not barren. I continually birth my purpose every day. So that's why I've created this show, to demonstrate how even though we all experience setbacks and disappointments, we still have a destiny to birth. We just need to blaze the trail and be expecting. This podcast will inspire you to lean into your hardships and allow them to be the vehicle that transports you into becoming the hero of your life, so you can breathe fire on this world. This week's episode is called Mind, Body, and Soul Muscles. And some points we'll cover are how everything is connected when achieving overall health, taking a holistic approach when dealing with traumas, and how to build mental and emotional strength. And I have my friend here, Samson Hoden, to speak on this topic. Samson is an entrepreneur, fitness and health nutrition specialist. Born in London, a sportsman from an early age, health and fitness has come naturally to Samson. Even as a child, he was intent on improving his performances while enjoying a flourishing social life, a happy family life, healthy competition, and education. During his teens, he sustained several injuries, which put an end to his dream of becoming a professional sportsman. So he began exploring the possibilities of life as an artist, musician, or PE teacher. Samson discovered he prefers to keep music and art as hobbies. Any client of his can see how his personal training work is strongly influenced by the two. On one hand, music motivates. On the other hand, it improves relaxation, meditation, and mental health in general. This makes it a fantastic tool for a personal trainer or athlete. His training, gym space, and coaching combine style, design, and aesthetics, which are all art forms. He believes that if a movement pattern isn't executed correctly, or if an environment is unappealing, it will negatively affect the state of mind and body of those involved. Working online has opened up the possibility of helping more people, and a new formula, which combines all of his most successful programs, was born. His online clients follow this formula, which has a 100% success rate for 84 days to get their desired results. Known as the Healthy Online Strength Coach, coaching others to be stronger mentally and physically in a way which enables them to develop and maintain a healthy and toned physique in the safest and most effective manner. Welcome, Samson, to the show.
Thanks for having me.
This is awesome. I'm excited to speak with you. We have a connection. You're all the way there in London. I'm in Canada, but I spent 6 months in the UK last year, so I feel a connection, and it's just great to speak with another UK person and talk about overall health and wellness. So thank you so much.
I'm looking forward to it. Let's go.
Yes. So just walk us through your backstory of your journey and how you ended up being in personal training.
I didn't know what I wanted to be until quite recently. And it came from a childhood of sport, and I was an artist, a musician, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to be. And when I was 21, I realized all my friends in the gym, the ones who were stronger than me, the ones who were fitter than me, the ones who looked better than me, and they were real athletes. They were asking me what we were doing today, what was the training program, how many reps were we doing. And we all seem to benefit from my plans and my motivating techniques. So it kind of stemmed from there, and I then branched off pretty randomly into a personal training diploma, became qualified, and then wanted to be my own boss. And through trial and error, I ended up building Samson Personal Training as my business. And now, with an online presence, it's helped me to educate CEOs and people who are very busy with their businesses, and they have children and family lives, but they don't want to sacrifice that physique that they desire in the process of growing and building their business and having freedom in their lifestyle. So I enable them to have beach bodies while still being able to function and move well. So they're not just bodybuilders, for example. And I do so in a way where it doesn't really affect their lifestyle at all. It's all tailored to their current schedule, and it's made fun, and it's all specific to them. So if they tell me they want to do something in their training program that works for them, I'll create the program that works best for them, and I won't give them something that's just being put in the media as being beneficial. I'll have studied it, and I will have personalized it for that person. So I go on a journey now with people to make them the best possible physical specimen while they're then improving their brain power, making millions, and loving life in general.
That's awesome. And I love how, you had your own journey of wanting to be a professional athlete. That didn't quite turn out for you, but instead of getting stuck in that of disappointment, you leaned into your passion and shifted it and let it become a career for you. And that's what my show is all about. That's what my work is all about, is leaning into those disappointments or those little bit of curveballs and channeling it and developing something new and exciting and purposeful for your life. So I really appreciate you, being on today and highlighting that.
Well, I think like so many millions of people, it takes a while for you to find your feet. And I had really no idea what I was going to do in my life. I was just following the educational system. I was doing my GCSEs. I was doing my A-levels. I was going to university. And I kind of stumbled across personal training. So it was just a spontaneous decision to try it. And when you're in your teens, you have role models. And I looked up to Arnold Schwarzenegger and Roger Federer and sort of great tennis players and football players, because I was involved in fitness probably more than other people. But I did appreciate other business tycoons and Bill Gates and Apple and things like that. But I just felt it was more natural for me to pursue a career in something that I was really loving. And I loved weightlifting. I loved spending my lunch break going to the gym with my best friends. And I'm glad I ended up personal training, because even though other careers were possible, I could have been an artist, I could have been a musician, I could have obviously learned skills in other areas, business, economics, but I decided to not follow what other people were trying to tell me to do. And my mum wanted me to be very, very academic and speak multiple languages, and it just didn't feel right for me. So I believe that I put all of my energy in the right place, and it's turned out that I've helped so many people. And now I'm able to speak to you and to train people online. More and more people are able to see the difference between a face-to-face trainer trying on your own or having an online coach. So I think it's just a matter of time before more people move towards an online trainer. And I think it's fantastic that a lot more people are being active now, and a lot more personal trainers are sort of made available to help people. But since the birth of the online coach, it's really been transformational in the terms that I can support people so much better. So I have much more time and much more energy to take someone through a routine that they may be having difficulty with, and make sure they're getting the best results, make sure it's fun for them, make sure they're engaging and it's not too challenging for them, or if they want a challenge, they can tell me and I can make it harder. And then that is so much better than having a full diary where from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock in the evening, I'm stuck in the gym or I'm going from client to client. And when one client finishes, a different client begins, and there's no time in between those sessions, and I have no energy after those sessions or on the weekends to then support these people between their sessions with me. So if you have a session with me on Monday and then a session with me on Wednesday, I wouldn't be able to support you between Monday and Wednesday session. So I can't support people in that model of personal training. Whereas now, I'm speaking to them in the morning. Tuesday morning, I'm saying, hi, how do you feel after yesterday's training session? They did it on their own, but they followed the videos that I sent them. And they can then give me feedback in real time, and they can sort of send me videos, or they can give me feedback by voice message, and I can get a really good reading on what they need from me and how well they're doing. So I'm very happy, they're very happy, and I think it's the future of my business.
That's fabulous. And I love how it just kind of stumbled across and organically flowed together and created your business. And, you know, that was with me too. Like, I'm a former radio broadcaster. I wrote my book to heal from the trauma of miscarriages and self-hatred. And my publisher was like, oh, when you do your Facebook, profile for your book, write author and speaker. I'm like, what? No, like, I know I'm a radio person, but that's not what this is for. She's like, trust me, you'll be a speaker. And it was just how it organically developed into a business. It was never supposed to be that. But when you're following your passion and you're onto something and you travel the road less traveled and, go against the grain and develop something unique, there's pure magic in that. And I think that's what you've developed, and that's pretty cool. And then also, I find that the majority of the world focuses on one aspect of health and fitness rather than looking at the whole picture of an individual. We are mind, body, and soul, not just the physical, but we seem to just focus on the physical generally. But you seem to take this broader holistic approach that everything is connected. What led you to this type of method?
So when I was younger, I began bodybuilding at 16, and that was mainly because I enjoyed it, and I was maybe influenced at the time by what my friends were watching in terms of films and martial arts and bodybuilding. But before that, I was clueless. I was playing sport, but I was clueless about the body. I had no idea. I wasn't educated at all. It was only because I liked Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then I got in a sort of extreme state of bodybuilding where I followed every single Mr. Olympia champion back to back. So I was following Arnold Schwarzenegger's routine, Serge Oliva's routine, Jay Cutler and Ronnie Coleman, and so many of them without knowing what it would do. Because I noticed some improvements in my muscles. I noticed I was stronger. I was really determined. I felt more confident. I felt healthier. And it just became natural to me to go down that route. But had I actually been more educated at the time, I would have known that you can't just do one thing relentlessly without some sort of balance. So now I've tried and tested so many other forms of exercise, from Pilates to sports to gymnastics to powerlifting. I'm able to now extract the best, what I believe to be the best aspects of each of those areas and disciplines to combine them. And it's really hard to do, but with a lot of practice and with really good communication with your clients and whoever you're helping, and a good understanding of your own body, it's amazing what can happen when you realize that there are so many muscles and there are so many joints and so many bones and so many systems within the body that need to be working in harmony. And if you just focus on one thing such as weightlifting, or one thing such as nutrition, or one thing such as looking at studies without practicing things, it really is quite a narrow-minded and naive approach, but it's not always intentional. It can be part of the process, because I went through lots of hardship, and too much bodybuilding led to injury, and then I had to experience the pain of injury and the struggle of trying to discover what was actually better to do. And I was fortunate that I came across some very, very interesting people, some very well-educated people in my journey, but it really did take quite a while to learn the truths about the nervous system, the muscular system, the digestive system, the immune system. And there are so many of these processes going on within the body, you can't neglect one of them if you want to feel your best. So I try and simplify these things. I try and make it really quick and easy for people to to dial into heart rates and circulation and connective tissue and skin and mental health and the brain and sleep. So they don't have to spend the 20 years or 25 years that I did to uncover all of this information that's now all over the internet. But how are you supposed to decipher this information when you're an executive or when you're not focused on it the whole time, like I am, because it's my passion?
Oh, I love that. Yes, everything is connected. Everything is needing to be communicating, and not just muscles to muscles, but muscles to tendons, your mind to your muscles. Like I've done some episodes in this. I'm really studied this, the power of our mind. We can actually move things with the mind and less effort with physical muscles because the power of the mind is so amazing. And so you are helping people tap into the power of your mind, your body, and your soul to get, ultimate health and wellness, correct?
Yes. We still haven't discovered all there is to discover about it. It's magical. It's really quite fun.
Totally. And, you also work with people who have experienced PTSD. And so I find that very fascinating. I think we need to be educated on alternative approaches with handling trauma. I've had my own sets of traumas. I've had to, again, work on my mind and soul, as well as, physical trauma through, DNCs and miscarriages, and going through, going into a hospital and feeling that PTSD feeling of losing a child. So could you walk us through your approach with this sensitive topic and how you help your clients and what led you to help with that kind of topic as well?
Yeah, so of course everyone's different and everyone's experiences are different as well, which it makes things very complicated. But the first thing I say to people is that you must believe, firstly, that you can escape the situation you're in. Without hope, you're already negative and you're already believing the naysayers that have told you that you can't walk again, or that you can't do this, or that you're going to decline in health. And it just sets you off on the wrong note. So I'm not generic when it comes to offering this advice. I don't just say, oh, you need 9 hours sleep or you need this. What I do is when people are on my program, I take the time to get to know them, and they also obviously get to know me, and they can see how I do things, and I can learn much more about the root cause of certain ailments or problems that they have. And it's really up to them how much they tell me, because I'm not their therapist, but they often reveal certain things that I know to be problematic in terms of mental and physical development, which if you then tackle one at a time and you don't just focus on what you're eating and you try and eat so many calories, or you try and lose body fat to try and cure that deep pain or that deep problem, you actually dive much, much deeper into the problem, and you realize that it came from their childhood, or it came from a fear of something, or a neglect, or whatever it is. That person then realizes that they have all of these weapons that they could potentially use to disarm that negative effect, that whatever it is. And it could be a mental thing, it could be a physical disorder. But once they understand how they can utilize each and every one of these weapons, they then start to feel better, and they can then either eliminate the ones that aren't really working, or they can dive deeper into the science with me to then try and help them uncover it and get themselves out of that situation sooner rather than later. But these things do take time. Some people manage to reverse diabetes very quickly, or feel mentally free within 6 months. But some people, it's a matter of years. But that's so much better than believing what someone said to you, like it's incurable, or you're never going to escape this situation. If it took 10 years, that's brilliant. You can now walk again, or you can now use your nervous system properly, or you now have a positive outlook on life no matter what's going on around you. So once they then have all of these little tips that aren't really known in the conventional science, or on Google, you can't just Google how to cure PTSD, because you just get loads of random things that you then have to go on this enormous journey of trying to discover whether or not it actually works. Whereas someone like me has gone through the science, and I've gone through these painful situations with people that's allowed me to have this experience. So I can actually tell people that this is far more likely to help you, or going out in the sunlight first thing in the morning is much more likely to help your problem rather than focusing on nutrition. So it's not really therapy or curing what they are struggling with. It's more informing them, educating them, and supporting them on the journey, so that they can get rid of that root cause of their pain, which may be the cause of their weight gain or lack of beach body or whatever it is. And then once that pain is gone, it's much easier to then lose body fat, build muscle, grow their businesses, support their families, and do what they want.
Wow, that's fabulous. I love the work that you're doing because you really dig deeper than a lot of the average personal trainers. You really are bringing in the whole picture. You are taking a different, unique approach that is so vital, because I'm a huge advocate of finding the root cause. We often treat the symptom. We treat what presents, and that's rarely what's the basis of the problem. That's rarely the root. And, like you said, it's wonderful if someone, gets better in 6 months, but often, if you're 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, it took a long time to get where you are. It's going to take some time to reverse the process, right? And,
Exactly.
like I've been going through a very rare autoimmune disease. I exhausted the healthcare system. I was treating the symptom with the medications that was keeping me alive, which is great, but it wasn't solving any problems. It was just maintaining, and I wanted to heal. I want to get, what's causing this? Let's uproot it and let's get better. And I walked into an alternative holistic practitioner's office, and she said, you have an autoimmune disease where your body physically attacks itself. And I said, yeah. And she goes, well, do you think there's a link with that and the fact that you hate yourself so much and you attack yourself with your thoughts every day? And it was just mind blown. Like, no one ever connected the dots like that. And that wasn't the only source of the problem, but that was a huge piece of the puzzle. So right then and there, 6 years ago, I decided to start starving the disease by injecting love, not attack. And my body is starting to listen, right? It's reversing it. It takes time. It's 6 years later. I'm not going to lie. I'm still battling it, but I'm getting better because I'm reversing that, right? I'm injecting love and not attack, right?
That's amazing. How have you been tracking your progress with that?
It's been a 180, and a lot of times everyone just looks on the physical. But yes, physically I'm still on medication and I'm still working through that, but often physical is the last. You have layers, and it's the mental and an emotional, and dealing with trauma and reversing and healing from those internal wounds. And like we said, it's not always a fast, quick process, and it's a layer. But when you look at Blaise 6 years ago and you look at me today, wow, that's the tracking, is that I never even at all dealt with any emotional pain or mental issues. I just masked them. I exhausted them with exercise. I tried to numb it with different things, right? And so now I'm not numbing it. Now I'm exposing it, but that's how you heal it. And I'm stepping into my purpose, and, I'm being happy amongst the chaos of life. I've changed my perception, and that is invoking healing. And that's really taking that whole picture, holistic approach that you really offer with people. So I love that we're having this dialogue.
Well, I think it's great that the people understand that there is a little bit of DIY going on in everyone's story. So when I first began, I didn't know any better. So I trusted my gut. I liked weightlifting. And then, you go on in this direction until you experience a real problem, and then you try and uncover it on your own. And all of this guesswork is, I believe, to be part of the process. You can't be perfect the whole way through or avoid every sort of barrier there is, because overcoming the barriers is also an amazing experience. Hopefully they're not devastatingly, they don't affect you really badly in the process of overcoming them. Some of the time they do, but most of the time they don't. But what people fail to recognize is that if you overcome some of the barriers on your own, it will most likely lead to you discovering an individual or a group of brilliant and specialists in different areas who you would then invest in to then make yourself a better person or make the process of healing faster and more effective because those people have been through it. But initially, without that pain or without that almost a cue from your body to tell you to do something different, it's really hard to then have that intrinsic motivation to want to seek help from someone else. So people often get lost and they experience pain for longer when they don't try and overcome what they're doing. And like you said, when you look at the root cause of the problem, it's very rarely solved by pharmaceutical drugs, or it's like putting a plaster on an axe wound. You need to treat it at the source. You need to hire people who are experts at doing that. And then you uncover information that you can then use independently once they've helped you to then go on your own journey of again, like you said, loving your body and enjoying what you can do more nowadays than when you were really struggling on your own at the beginning. But it is always an up and down. You go in phases and you learn. And it's only because my heart and my soul is in health and fitness that I've uncovered so much more so quickly. I'm 30, but I've been involved in this for sort of 17 years, and I've been involved in sport for pretty much 28 years, I would say. And that has given me much more experience. But most people still, they can do a lot in a very short space of time. And people are only with me for about 12 weeks, sometimes less, sometimes more. I do have people who stick with me for years, and I do have people who only need to see me for 12 weeks. But as well as getting the body that they want, they also have the education, which I believe is a crucial part of life. And in every country, it's different. You said that you had someone that you went to look at, but in each country, there are different specialists and different governing bodies that you can use. And I found in the UK, I found some brilliant professors and some interesting podcasts, and you just have to try and piece it all together and do whatever you can do. If you're busy and you're not a health and fitness professional like me, you just need to try and use a little bit of initiative and a little bit of time to reach out to someone and to do some research and hire someone who can really help you, because on your own it will take a little bit longer.
Yes. And, I love all your explanations there, because it does take time, but it needs to take the openness to look beyond maybe what is presenting. Everything needs to be put together. It's mind, body, and soul. And just like you said, it's a little bit of do it yourself. You have to do the work. You have to recognize. You have to be open to dig a bit deeper, because we often say, oh, I just want to lose weight. But you got to, ask questions of like, well, why? What are you struggling with? Where is your weight gain? And that's connected to something else. It might be emotional. It might be physical, dealing with physical trauma. Like maybe you were in a car accident years ago, had some neck issues, and that's developed into your lower back. And the way you work out is compensating. And now you've got a disconnect. And we always just focus on where the pain is or where the issue is. But maybe we need to reverse it and look back, zoom out to zoom back in and really treat the whole body. Don't you think?
Exactly. And it does take time to find the right professional support as well. But generally speaking, the ones who have a higher level of education, or the ones who you do need to invest a little bit more in, they tend to help you better, I found. But again, you can hire lots of different personal trainers, and on the 10th time, you might find the one that works well for you. So it's just a matter of being open-minded enough to hire someone who's done it more than you and has gone down that road before. You can sort of follow their lead. You can still be the entrepreneur, but they are leading you.
And I find this so interesting, because I was at a physiotherapist, and we were working on, I have a lung issue with this autoimmune disease, and we were working on my lungs and breathing. And then she noticed something very interesting. She's like, oh, when you sit up, your breathing and your posture is really poor. But when you lay down, your breathing is so expanded. And I wonder why. And she came to the conclusion, she was like, you're laying on the bed here. You're supported. But when you sit up, you don't actually believe you're supported. And then that impacts your breathing, your posture, and your overall health. So that was a huge light bulb for me that I had to still work on some self-esteem, on my posture, putting my head, up, my shoulders back, and owning my space and supporting myself. I don't need something else to support me. And that was a huge connection. And that's something, again, with this overall health, wealth, and fitness, right? All of that, abundance, it's a whole picture treatment plan. And I love that that's what you look at of helping people, because it isn't just one thing. It's a whole bunch of things put together, and trainer and client doing the work, right?
Yes. Well, my target audience and the people that I believe I can coach best at this point in time are busy CEOs, men and women. But I do think, well, most of them tend to be a little bit broken from bad habits of the most of their lives, not doing everything really, really well. So I think the root cause of that problem is a lack of education much, much earlier, potentially in primary school. Or I think it would be wonderful if they had more. Of course, there are PE teachers and science teachers, but at that age, it's very, very rare to see a school or a community where children are taught how to squat or how to move, how to twist. They're just taught to run around and go and have fun. And this is what biology is, and this is what chemistry is, and this is your exam date and things like that. But they're not taught about how breathing can affect mood and the deep stuff at that early age can really protect them from. I mean, my dream was ended by a knee injury from playing cricket, but it could have been genetic. It could have been that I overloaded myself. It could have been growing pains. I don't know. But it could also likely have been a poor warm-up that day from the coaches not really giving me enough information from an early age to support my own warm-ups, even though I was sort of 12, 13 years of age. So I think more and more parents now and more schools should start to think about how they are being active with their kids or being active as a family. And this will then help the adults feel motivated to be that role model, but also the youngsters to learn about deadlifting and not just jogging and doing all the things that most people can do quite comfortably, walking, jogging, sitting down, standing up. They need to learn how to balance on one leg, how to jump, how to sprint, how to lift a weight from here to here properly. And that's only really taught in a sort of master's degree in biomechanics. So you'd have to love the industry so much and know what you want to do and have the money to then access the right university and have the right education level and performance in your exams to get into that university to then study that. Then you'd have to complete that course, and you'd have to hope that the examining body or the course is actually giving you good information, because they don't always. And then you would learn about biomechanics and how physics can be applied in an educational exercise environment. But without that, how are you going to get 6-year-olds to try and learn how to move well? They're just going to be quite instinctive and impulsive. But then when they turn 8 or 9 or 10 and they sit down a lot at school, or they get into an office and they sit down and they have back pain, they don't have the arsenal there to then cure that or to counter that and to move like they did when they were younger, when they were more free and relaxed. So I think that's something that could improve. Maybe I'll work towards influencing that as well, which will be quite difficult. But I think what I can do right now to help is to make these CEOs not just live well, but have that amazing connection with their children, to then inspire them that they can, even if they're not fitness professionals, so they can still look like one, but they can also be the next Elon Musk or whatever if they want to. So I think that's pretty cool. So the adults that I train, they can then inspire their children, who then may be able to inspire the educational process to change. But I don't know, it's a topic for another podcast maybe.
I love that. That's so amazing. And so you really invoke, not just the physical. You really have a core value of practicing, working on the mental and emotional strength. This is still not a general form of training. This is still new and coming up because we tend to just focus on the physical. So when you have these clients come to you, how do they receive this overall approach? Are they happy? Are they interested? Do you get some pushback, or how is it received with your clients?
So I don't just accept anyone onto my program. So there is an application, and I do need to know what that person specifically needs and whether we would work well together. But once that process has been completed and they're on board, it's actually very easy. The thing I take pride in is making their progress easier than they thought. So I've gone through all the hardship. I've uncovered all of these horrendous things myself, and I've gone through all the hours and hours of having to roll my muscles on a hockey ball to see what it does, and to combine that with the science and to learn which scientific studies to trust, and spend hours going through them all and years discovering which ones were good and which ones are bad after 10 years, after 15 years. So they don't have to do it. So when they come on board with me, it's just like, right, your life is going to be exactly as it is. You want a beach body in 12 weeks. Let's see if that's realistic firstly. If they weigh 140 kilos, it's not going to happen. So you try and choose realistic goals. And then they tell me what their lifestyle is like. They tell me how many minutes they've got to exercise in that day, for example. I mean, this could go in extreme detail, so I won't spend too long explaining the entire process. But basically, long story short, they carry on as they're doing, but I introduce very, very easy and effective tips for them to start to introduce that I believe are appropriate for that person. And once those things are then embedded, it may take a week, it may take half of the 12 weeks to actually embed those things. But once they're embedded, they now habitually and instinctively do them as part of their lifestyle. And they have knock-on effects, such as the fat loss they want, or the better sleep that they need, or whatever it is that person is struggling with that will get them to what they expressed as being their goals. And it's really, really simple. And through communication and support quite regularly, it's really easy to see if one tip was working or whether it needs to be switched out with something else. And if they're ready to take on more, then I can give them more. But I sort of say things in layman's terms to make it easy. But if they actually show an interest in nutrition or whatever, then I'll explain it to them at a deeper level. So it's really simple for them.
Oh, that's awesome. Love all this conversation. Love what you're doing. It sounds like you're really trying to help people, not just, get money from people and give them a quick fix. Like, you're really caring about their overall health. And that's really rare, and that's a really good thing to have. So that's awesome. And it is a very vulnerable position. You're asking people to dig deep, to expose themselves, to really work on their overall health. So that could be a vulnerable position. And I always say I don't expect other people to be vulnerable with me if I can't match that. So I always show that, hey, I'm willing to go there with you and let's do it together. So, what is something you've overcome in your life and how did you do it?
Well, I wouldn't call it overcoming necessarily, but I think my almost caring approach when I am personal training is due to the fact that my father wasn't always around, and my half-sister is disabled. She has cerebral palsy. And my mother has been then a single mother in London, which is a very cutthroat city and quite hard to be a single parent in. And not that it's easy anywhere else. And my sister, with her disability, made things very difficult for her. But also, it took me a while to come to terms with everything. So once I then realized how important it is to care for her and what changes I needed to make to be a better son or a better brother or whatever, I then realized that is a great way of improving my attitude towards other areas of my life, such as my work. So when you actually realize that this is a human being that has paid me to change their life, it puts things into perspective. You can't just dish out any odd workout routine and a random food plan that you decided to do because it got you to 6% body fat. It's not necessarily going to work on that person, and that person's trusted you to get them results. So I did find that difficult, actually, to find out what I needed to do to support my mother, to support my sister, and to be the best possible coach. But I feel like I've overcome that period of being nervous about communicating about and talking about my sister, and to try and step up when I was quite immature in my teens and support my mother as well. So I would say now I'm complimented quite a lot on my, not just willpower, but the fact that not a lot phases me. I'm pretty strong and resilient in those ways. So I'm not sure it answers your question directly.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And that, brings it all back that you don't just have the physique, you don't just have the body muscles, but you have the mind and soul muscles, which is so important for life. You need all of them, right?
Yeah, it took a while because I was just trying to be a typical teenager, and you don't know how to react to things. You don't know how to behave necessarily. It takes everyone different lengths of time. But I matured quite late. So once I found my feet and I realized this is what I want to do in my life, this is what I need to do for my mother, this is what I need to do to help my sister, this is the situation, then you can go about it. But if you don't have the health in the first place, which I was fortunate enough, it was luck, I believe. I have good genetics, but a background of sport and always being surrounded by good teachers and great friends and family, I was then able to build that strength mentally and physically faster than most people, I believe. So I'm all about now trying to get people to that place where I am, where they have a lot of power over themselves, and they can then control their lives, and they can stop other things which shouldn't really be affecting them from affecting them.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. And it builds that, like you said, resiliency and the empathy factor, the fact that you've, focused instead of avoided talking about your family, you focused on it. It allowed you to feel and have empathy, which translates to having empathy with your clients and shows them that that's a vital part of health and fitness, and not just building strong muscles, mind, body, and soul, but building the flexibility, allowing yourself to be able to, take on these new challenges or whatever life throws at you, and you can be flexible, because flexible is so important and part of that strength, correct?
Yeah, and I think as a species, the human race needs to stick together a bit more. It's starting to happen with the Black Lives Matter and lots of other things, and coronavirus, and people now realizing who their true friends are, and whatever sort of pandemic or everything gets fired in different people in different directions. It's important to remember who we are and what we can do together, rather than dividing and judging and things like that. So I think the more we are willing to help other people win, provided we're in a healthy state to do that. So I always tell people to try and make themselves strong and healthy first, before then helping one other person, maybe their mother or their wife or whatever, whoever is appropriate, and then taking on other people, rather than trying to help too many other people. It sounds silly, but some people, they really are very, very, very caring, and they try and help everyone else other than themselves, and they end up in a bit of a tricky situation. So I try and get people to actually make themselves almost selfishly healthy, to then really be the rock in a relationship, so they can then help their mother or whoever's around them directly, and then you can then help hundreds or millions or however many people, like I do with my work. If I was broken and not as strong as I am, I wouldn't be able to speak with confidence, or to give the right information, or to make these calculated decisions, because I would be doubting myself, or I wouldn't be able to have uncovered what I've uncovered. So I think the more we bond, and the more we realize that it doesn't matter what color we are, what religion we have, and things like that, I think it's just going to make us stronger, and it will make us respond better to all the horrible things that are going on in the world, and the fact that nature's dying, and lots of other topics that no one really likes talking about. And I think as an individual, we're very powerful, but together we're more powerful.
That's beautiful. Love that. Oh, this is an amazing conversation. I love having these different dialogues. Are you taking people from all over the world? We're in the middle of a pandemic. What are your next steps and how can people connect with you?
That's what's so brilliant. I mean, I have no limits now. So in the past, I was in gyms, Virgin Actives and Fitness First and you name it, as well as being self-employed, just to try test the waters and see what options I had. And it's only until now I've realized I can train people in India and all over the world, Australia. It doesn't matter. Yes, the time differences can affect things slightly, but what people need to realize is that you don't need to have a face-to-face trainer live in order to get results. In fact, depending on that, doesn't get the best results by a long way. So they're not jumping onto a live Zoom call with me to train with me. I've written them a program. I've given them very, very clear and personalized video tutorial programs for them to get on with, and it's so easy for them to follow. If they have any questions, they can always ask me. They do that program whenever they want. If they don't feel good fitting in with my schedule, they don't need to. They don't need to book in with me when I have time at 3 o'clock. And if they have a stomachache, they still have to do it. Or if they're 5 minutes late, they lose 5 minutes. They do the program whenever they want to do the program in the day. And they'll have multiple programs sometimes. So they can do it at 4 o'clock, or they can do it at 7 o'clock in the morning, or they can choose the 15-minute program or the 90-minute program based on whichever day that would work best for them. So not only am I able to help more people all over the world, I'm also able to make it really easy for them to not have to go out of their way to do something that's going to really improve their health and their fitness. So when it comes to booking in live calls for occasional conversations live with someone for the support, which really does help if they have a problem that they can't uncover on their own, because CEOs in 99% of cases are very, very smart, very, very hardworking, and they like taking little bits of information and trying to make the most of them or to learn how it really works on their own. They don't need to be spoon-fed. So if I give them some information to do, for example, cook 2 weeks worth of meals, or even 2 days, depending on the person's goals, 2 days worth of meals to make their meal preparation more effective, they then go and do that. And if they're having difficulty with it and a voice message or an email can't uncover what they need to know about that task, we then book in a 20-minute live video call to talk about meal prep or whatever else they need to do. They then get on with it for another week or two without even needing to jump on a video call. So their lives, as I said before, are basically the same. They have these little tips that they can get on with. They have me available all the time because I can actually give my time and energy to them. And in the future, I may have a team underneath me who are also offering key pieces of information that I haven't uncovered myself yet, such as maybe mindset or whatever. And they can be in Korea or India or Australia, and we just have to book those live calls in when we're both going to be awake, which might be a challenge at some point. But for the time being, everyone that I believe needs my help that completes those application forms, and I know that we would work really well together, and they really express that they do want this program and they need me, they all absolutely love it, and I've got more than enough time to help them rather than working for 12 hours a day in a gym and not being able to actually see everyone that I want to help.
Perfect. And I'll provide the links here when I post this podcast. And I've just really enjoyed this conversation with you. You're such a wise guy that's really taking and drawing in from all these experiences, your studying and your passion, and really packaging it together to really help people, optimize their health and all a way around, mind, body, and soul. So thank you so much. We'll just recap what we talked about today. It's so vital to understand how everything is connected and work to get the mind, body, and soul to communicate in harmony, discovering the root cause of ailments, and including traumas, is key to discovering the root cause of things and our ailments and how we can heal and optimize our health. How to not just be the CEO in business, but also be the CEO of your mental and emotional health and be an inspiration for your children. Thank you so much, Samson, for coming on today and sharing your knowledge and your passion.
My pleasure. It's been so fun. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. If you want to learn more about my consulting programs, purchase my book, or have me speak at your next event, please visit blaisehunter.com. I do have a free offer for everyone. When we feel lost in our day and have anxiety and overwhelm, what can we do? Well, when we're driving and we feel lost, what do we do then? We Google Maps that stuff, right? We go to the map. So I've created a map video that helps us guide us through the maze of anxiety and overwhelm in our day and get us back to a place of peace and balance. Head to my website, free offers tab there, download the video. That is there for you. Thanks again, Samson, for coming on. That's it for this week's episode. Challenge yourself to be vulnerable, lean into the difficulties, and have these open conversations so we can rise up as the heroes of our lives and let us breathe fire together. If you've enjoyed this show, please subscribe and support Blaise the Trail podcast. Reviews are always welcome and very much appreciated. Thanks for listening. I'm Blaise Hunter.
You've been listening to Blaise the Trail with Blaise Hunter. To learn more about how you can breathe fire and unleash the hero within, or to listen to past episodes, visit blaisehunter.com.